Hey, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a little bit of a how-to. It's kind of a new thing for the channel, but it's pretty exciting. And you know what? I'm sick and tired of the fakes. It is so annoying to see just so many of them. And you think they're not even priced like super cheap. You would think, right? They're fake cards, so you would make it super cheap. But again, I guess that would be too obvious. So I guess I get it. But you find them around market, maybe a little bit below. You add it to your cart, and then you realize, God damn it, it's a fake card. It's so demoralizing, and even more so when you actually get it. You have to go through the return. You have to go through it. It's just a headache, right? So hopefully this video will help you guys prevent that, and will help anyone. If it even helps one person, then I'm happy. Hopefully help you guys out how to tell them apart, how to tell these fake cards apart. Hopefully you guys won't have to go through what I did. Unfortunately, yes, I did fall for a fake card. It is what it is. Hopefully I can turn this into a lesson, not just for myself, but for you guys as well. But before we even start, before we even get going on how to tell these apart, how about we start off with a little test? How about we start off with a little perception test? Let's see if you can already spot the fakes. So how about we're going to start off with a little gauntlet. It's quite a bit of cards. I wanted to get as many different rarities as I could just to test you guys, because there's so many different rarities now that, trust me, we'll hopefully cover a good amount of them. I don't think we'll be able to cover every single one just because I don't have an example of every single one, but we should have a pretty good amount. And something I do want to preface this video with is that unfortunately I will not cover vintage. I am personally just not into vintage, so I just don't really have any vintage cards or a lot of interest in it, so I'm just not going to cover it. Sorry if you are. There's a bunch of videos covering vintage. There's a bunch of people who are into it, so trust me, there's no shortage of information. But point being, I'm going to mainly cover, and by right now you're supposed to be typing your answers, by the way, name the fake, but right now I'm mainly going to cover in this video XY, Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, and what's it called, Scarlet and Violet. So hopefully I'll be covering most of the rarities in these, so hopefully this should help out at least someone, right? Right, hopefully you named it, hopefully you're ready, because the answer was, it might surprise you. No, I'm just kidding. Well, if you were perceptive, probably not. But if you weren't, then the answer might surprise you. It was. Or if you're just not familiar with how to tell. Well, I mean, I guess you're watching. I guess you're watching it for a reason. But the answer was the Raichu twins. And if you were even more perceptive, you would have realized that actually was a trick question, because it was two fakes. It was actually two tag teams, which is just not a great sign, but not a great look. But unfortunately, yeah, it is actually two fake cards. It actually was a little bit of a trick question. It is what it is. But how can I tell these are fake? What the hell is going on? And how can you hopefully not fall for these in the future? So the number one thing you're going to be looking out for is obvious mistakes. And what do I mean by these? These are the mistakes that are just more so noticeable just at a nice glance. So what do I mean by that? What you're going to do whenever you're going to buy a card is zoom in. You're going to zoom in as much as you can. So for example, you're trying to buy this Audino. We'll check it out. You're going to zoom in as much as you can. You're going to make sure that the font matches. Pokemon uses a very specific font, so just make sure that it matches that font. Make sure that everything is in the right place. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that make sure that this right here, for example, make sure it says Audino. Make sure it says Audino EX. If it's a Mega Evolution Pokemon, make sure it says the Pokemon's name EX, right? Make sure it just doesn't say the Pokemon. Make sure it doesn't say this Charizard evolved from a Wartortle or from a from a Charmander. Make sure it matches what it's meant to match, right? This is, again, the more obvious one, but you'll have a laugh and you'll see so many these like obvious fakes that it is kind of crazy. So many that just don't match the font. So again, what you can do if you just want to make sure you're buying a legit card in that sense, just load up a PSA copy, a CCG copy, any copy that is verified. Load it up by a reputable, obviously by a reputable, not just some random one. Obviously, a lot of people you'll see, they actually create their own grading. Don't even get me started. Point being, verify it with a real one. Zoom in as much as you can. Make sure they actually match. No, it's not a misprint. It's a fake card if it doesn't match. You're going to zoom into the evolution if it has one. You're going to zoom in into the numbers. You're going to zoom in into the, if it's a mega, you're going to zoom in into the little M here. This little M is supposed to have this like funny looking thing coming out from the side. Make sure it's there. For example, if it's an XY evolution one, again, this is just more specific ones, and that's why you're comparing it to different cards, to like the greater versions of the card. So you're making sure you're buying a real one. Because, for example, this Slowbro, if I just gave you this advice, hey, the evolution's under all the time, you would think this Slowbro is fake. But in the first set, the XY evolution sets, they actually made it so the evolution was at the top right here. So just make sure you're looking out for those mistakes. Again, just make sure it matches all the other cards that have the same, all the other listings, right? That's, again, a little bit of common sense, but you would be surprised at how many don't even do that, right? So what's another thing you can look out for? So that's number one, the more obvious mistakes. So what's another thing you can look out for is the back of the card. And this one is maybe won't help you out as much. A lot of fakes, unfortunately, have gotten pretty good at copying these. So sometimes you'll be able to spot them though. Just make sure you're looking at the coloration of the Pokeball. Make sure it matches it. Again, Pokemon uses a very specific color. In this one, you can see, hopefully you can see it. I'll take them out of the sleeve so hopefully you can see them a little better. But this one is a fake card. And as you can see, it's a lot lighter. That Pokemon font, that like yellow, it's a much lighter than it's actually supposed to be. The Pokeball is a little lighter. The coloration doesn't exactly match. So just make sure it matches exactly. Unfortunately, and a lot of times what sellers will do is they'll sell you one without the back, without showing the back. So just make sure to ask. Sellers are trying to make money. And I know that's common sense. I know you're probably thinking, well, yeah, no shit. What I'm trying to say is if you ask for a picture, if someone is legit, 9 out of 10 times in my experience, they'll respond with the picture that you're requesting. As long as you're not being obviously like super annoying about it. You're not like, oh, can you send me a picture? And you ask like 10 times, like, hey, can you send me this angle? Can you send me this angle? Oh, is this a PSA 10? Stuff like that. As long as you're not being like super annoying about it, as long as you're being respectful and you're being polite, you're not accusing them of anything. Trust me, you have a pretty long way with this sellers. Again, they're trying to make money, so they'll send you those pictures. So just make sure to try to get that as much as you can. Again, sometimes it'll help you. In this case, obviously, if I could have seen the back, it would have helped. I could be able to see the, hey, this just doesn't match. The coloration, again, Pokemon has this very specific one. Not only the yellow, but this. Look at this. Well, this is a fake card, sorry. Look at this, right? They have this like very specific here. Sorry, you can see the top loader makes the reflection really strong, but you can see this like very specific coloration. It has like this light area with some dark. It's this like darker areas around it. It has like this very specific pattern that some cards just can't match. As you can see, it just doesn't really look the same. So that is another way to tell. That is another one. Maybe that one should also fall under the obvious one, but it is slightly different. So I'll say that is category number 2, the back of the card. Just make sure these two match up. And what happens if they do match up? What happens if the font matches up? What happens if the evolution, everything's correct in the card? What happens if the back looks good? What is the last thing I can look out for? And what is the main thing that I can look out for? This is going to be the main thing that you're going to be using. The foiling / hollow texture. So what do I mean by that? It's actually create a little paradox right here. Have the real version of the card with the fake version of the card. So if you have them side by side like this, it is pretty damn easy to tell. I mean, look at this rainbow coming out. It just looks funny. It's very easy to tell, right? But what happens if I only show you this? And now it's a lot harder to tell because you don't have a real example. So again, this is why you're loading up as many examples, as many different listings as you can. Again, with older cards, it is sometimes a little harder because there's either a lot of fakes or B, there's just not a lot of options. But for most modern cards, you should have a fair amount of options. Just compare it to. And again, if you can find a comparison like this, again, just make sure to find a listing like this. Make sure to find a listing like this. It should be fairly easy to tell, right? All right, how about we actually get into the weeds? How about we actually get into the good stuff? So what you're mainly going to be looking out for, some cards are meant to have a texture. And what cards are meant to have a texture? That is something that you have to know. And for Scarlet and Violet one, for example, they actually made it really easy to tell the fakes because cards that have a texture, and what I mean by texture is this. So hopefully you can see, if we zoom in, there you go, you should be able to see it right there. Right here. You can see that like texture has like a roughness to it. If you can touch it, it's very noticeable. But obviously if you're buying online, you can touch them. But once you receive it, if you want to do that. But if you don't want to touch it for whatever reason, you don't want to risk, I don't want to risk hurting the card or whatever. It should be very easy to still tell. In person, even more so. But again, even online, if you're able to zoom in with good lighting, you should very easily be able to tell. And a lot of sellers actually like to highlight it. They actually like to take it in as bright as lighting as possible because it highlights it. It highlights the hollow pattern, and a lot of people like it. And again, it just verifies that the card is real. So this is the real card. You should be able to see that. And again, if we zoom into this one, the fake version, you can see it doesn't have any roughness to it. It doesn't have any texture to it. Again, it has that like wrong foiling to it. It has the wrong foiling, like the wrong rainbow you want. That's not meant to be there. It doesn't feel anything. This one feels rough. So these are the cards that are meant to have texture. So again, which ones are there? Scarlet and Violet. Again, a bunch have it. Double rares have it around the edge. Ultra rares have it all over. And then full arts essentially always will have a texture. So this is gonna be a common thing between all of these. But full arts in Scarlet and Violet also have the texture. And finally, the last two that have a texture are the hyper rares and the special illustration rares. So I did make an I didn't mention it, right? Okay. I was gonna say I did make sure to not mention it. Okay, I did. So I did make an important exception that you'll notice if you're into Scarlet and Violet, and is the illustration rares. I wanted to make sure I didn't mention those because, boy, that would probably create a lot of confusion. But the illustration rares, which are obviously a new thing in Scarlet and Violet, do not have that texture. They are not the same. So for example, let's look at this Aipom. This little cute Aipom. As you can see, this one doesn't actually have that foiling pattern. It doesn't have a texture, sorry. It doesn't have a hollow pattern. This one, what it's going to have instead, what you're going to be looking out for in these like illustration rares, is going to be instead this like foiling pattern coming out from the side. It's going to come out like diagonally like this. It's going to come out with a bunch of lines like this. It's not going to be either horizontal or vertical. It's going to be like that. So it's not going to be like the one I just showed you in the fake card, right? It's not going to be, it's very hard to see. Sorry if you, okay, there you go. Should hopefully be able to see. Come on. This is so annoying. There you go. Okay, there you go. Oh my goodness, there you go. There you go. You can see like rainbow. It is the rainbowy one, but it's not coming out straight down, right? It's not coming down vertically. It's actually coming down like diagonally. So unlike this one, again, we can compare it to the obvious fake. You can see that like coming down, right? That coming down rainbow. It's not actually meant to be like that. So just make sure to look out for that. So those are the cards that are meant to have a texture in Scarlet and Violet. In Sword and Shield, it is just essentially the full art and the Seeker rares. That's pretty much it. So you're gonna look out for example, if we're looking out for, let me pull out a Sword and Shield one. This is a perfect example, right? So look at these two, right? So we have a full art, or we have a whole, which is an ultra rare. I'm pretty sure this is an ultra rare, right? I'm pretty sure this is an ultra rare, and it doesn't have a texture. So again, not ultra rares don't have a texture, as you can see. I can pull it out. And this one just doesn't feel, it feels smooth. It's not meant to have a texture because this is not a full art. This, however, this Superior is a full art because this is from the trainer gallery. So again, you're just going to zoom in, and it is pretty hard to tell sometimes in Sword and Shield. It is kind of annoying. Again, if you do look at these two, maybe you would just assume these two are full arts, but they're not. So again, in this one, I just default to the same. Just make sure to look up, especially Sword and Shield, you should have a bunch of different examples to go off of. Just make sure and look up different examples of the different cards and zoom in as much as you can and make sure that they're meant to have a texture. Again, some of these Ultra Rares in Sword and Shield, it is kind of hard to tell, especially these like trainer gallery. Wanted to correct a little mistake I made there. So Sword and Shield gets even more complicated, sorry, but hopefully this will help you guys. So as I can tell you, we noticed, the Ultra Rares don't have a texture, but some of the trainer galleries do. So unfortunately, it's not all the trainer galleries. It's not as easy as that. But here's something that might help you though. So if we're talking about a trainer gallery card, for example, this Manaphy or this Kingdra, this is already out of the top loader, so it's even easier, doesn't have a texture. It just has the foil all over the card. So is this a fake card? Well, not necessarily. What you're looking for in the trainer gallery to determine if it's going to have a texture or not is if it has anything beyond the name of the Pokemon. So for example, Kingdra, Manaphy, that's it. They're not the V-Star. They're not the V version. So this is not going to be a quote-unquote fuller, right? This is just going to receive the regular foil treatment instead. So you can see right there. But if it's a V card, as we can see with the Samacenta, then it should receive the texture, as we saw with the Superior as well. And as we can see with this Darkrai as well, which is from the Crown Zenith gallery, you can also notice that it has the texture as well. So that's pretty much how you're going to tell. If it's an ultra rare, if it's a regular ultra rare, it's not going to have a texture, as we saw with the whole. If it's from the gallery, if it's from any of the galleries, Brilliant Stars, Astral Radiance, I think it's Crown Zenith, and I forgot the last one, Lost Origin, I think. So if it's of any of these trainer galleries, then you're going to make sure, number one, is it a V or a V-Star Pokemon? If it is, and it's in the trainer gallery, then it's going to have a texture. If it's not, if it's just like this, if it's just a Pokemon name, Kingdra, Manaphy, Malamar, a bunch of other examples, Mightyena, that they won't have the texture. What about cards? What about we get into the XY ones? Because this is where things start to get funky. The only ones that are going to have it here are, again, the secret rares and the full arts. But the ultra rares in I guess Sun and Moon as well. In Sun and Moon and X and Y don't have a texture. So how can I tell them apart? So this is another unique situation. We can see this Wailord. So you can see we have this Wailord, and he doesn't have a texture. So what you're going to be looking out for is kind of similar to the, well, not really. This one is a lot, well, it is kind of similar in the way that it is coming diagonally like this. So it is similar to the illustration rares, but this one is a lot stronger. So this one is like a rainbowy look to it, but it's like all over the card. You can see like all over the card. It's a lot stronger than the illustration rare one, but this is the specific pattern that you're looking for in ultra rares for Sun and Moon. This is specifically for Sun and Moon. So that's what you're looking out for. Again, if it doesn't have a texture, if it's not a full art card, if it's not a secret rare, then in Sun and Moon, it's not going to have a texture. So if it's just a regular ultra rare, that's what you're looking out for. That like rainbowy diagonally look, and make sure it matches that. Make sure it looks like this. Make sure it doesn't look different. This one, unfortunately, has a lot of fakes. Once we start getting into like Sun and Moon / XY, that's when you start getting into like the pinnacle of fakes. You start getting into the huge amount of fakes. So just watch out, you guys. Just definitely be careful. And how about we tell with an ultra rare for, what's it called, for X and Y? How about we go even older? We're going to actually try a secret and an ultra rare. So first, we're going to start with ultra rare. We're going to start with this Diancie. How can I tell that this Diancie is kind of hilarious? That this used to be the ultra rares. Now these would just be a double rare. Yikes, the evolution of Pokemon, huh? But yeah, no. How can I tell this apart? How would I go about this? So in this card, you'll actually notice that like rainbow foil that the other one had, that the fake card had. So in this case, it actually is meant to have that. That is actually the correct foil. It's actually meant to come down from a bunch of sides like this. You can see right here, you can see right here. The trick to these is you're actually going to look at the text box. So if you notice, once I illuminate it like this, there you go. You'll see that this is like the perfect angle. I have to try to hold it like this. You can see that the foiling mysteriously stops here. Just as the text box starts, it cups off, and no foiling around here, no foiling, and then it just resumes here. So that's the trick for these. That's what you're looking out for in these XY ones. That's how you're going to tell a fake. If the foiling goes through the text box, it is a fake card. The foiling is not meant to go through the text box. Can you imagine how annoying that would be? Like you're playing in a like really sunny area, you're playing in a really lit up area or something, and the foiling is just going crazy. You can't even read the card or anything. It would just be a disaster, right? So Pokemon ensured that the real cards are not going to have that problem. And that's something that is really, I'm guessing, really hard to replicate, because this is going to be the easiest way to tell XY cards apart, the ultra rares. Even Seekers, again, they follow the same rule. You can see that the foiling starts here, mysteriously cuts off here, right? And just we have these like blank space with no foiling. So that's how you're going to tell the XY ones apart. That's how you're going to tell the XY one. Ultra rares, the XY, the secret rares, if they're like this. Again, if they're not a full art in XY, I think I mentioned earlier that XY, the seekers also had a texture. That actually is wrong. Okay, so correcting another mistake right here again, I want to make sure this video is as accurate as possible. So I want to make sure to highlight the fact that XY, so I was half right in this one actually. I wasn't completely wrong on this one. XY has two different types of seekers. The first one, the one I showcased, which is this one. Essentially the only difference between the regular and this one is going to be the golden words and the golden frame. And again, this one, yeah, you're using that technique, right? So, oh, nice. So that was all correct, right? That wasn't the issue. The issue was XY actually has two types of seekers. So this is the first type, which I like to call still the double rare / ultra rare looking seekers, because obviously they still keep that same frame, right? But they actually have a second type, which are the full art seekers, what I like to call full art seekers, which essentially are going to look more like traditional full arts. They're essentially going to look more like this. And I do have 3 on the way, but I don't have any on hand. So I just want to make sure to set the record straight. And these are going to look like full arts, but they're going to have the infamous XY golden frame. So essentially they're going to be full arts with a golden frame. And since they are full arts, they are going to have a texture. So you're going to be looking for that texture. Again, XY has two unique ones. If they look like this, if they don't look like full arts, they're not going to have a texture. If they look like full arts, they're going to have a texture. So I'll put 3 examples of the ones that I'm going to pick up. Gardevoir, Volcanion, and the promo of Yveltal. So as you can see, I'll do my best to hopefully showcase the texture on these. And as you can see, they will have the regular full art texture, but with that golden frame. So keep that in mind, and please keep watching the rest of the video. And how about we actually see a Seeker from Sun and Moon? Check it out. So it's, again, very easy to tell them apart if we compare it to the Raichu. If we compare this Lopunny / Jigglypuff, we can easily see, once you zoom in, if you zoom in anything, you can easily see all this rainbow foiling, right? You can see that like texture, you can see that like roughness to it all over the Lopunny, all over the Jigglypuff, all that good stuff. So that's what you're looking out for. Again, if we zoom in, I think you can see it from a mile away even. This one just doesn't have any texture to it. So that is the rule. That is what you're looking out for. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. Hopefully helped you guys. Hopefully helped someone out. Hopefully, again, if it even helped one person out, to me, that is more than good enough. And again, with these newer cards, it is a lot easier to tell. So with Scarlet and Violet specifically, I don't think it's as hard. Once you start getting good at telling the texture, it is very easy to see it, right? Again, you can see it right there. You can see the texture. You can see the texture right here in the edge. You can see the texture. Trick question. This one is an illustration rare. No, you can see the foiling though. So you start getting really good at this. You can see the texture at the edge. You start getting really good at this, and hopefully you start being able to tell fakes apart like this. You start being able to tell them apart really quick. You start being able to just swipe. You start just being able to ignore them. Sorry. Hopefully this helped you guys out. Again, a quick little resume. XY ultra rares, you're looking out for the foils. Make sure they don't go through the text box. Sun and Moon, the ultra rares, you're looking out for that diagonal rainbowy pattern. Make sure it goes like throughout all the card. Make sure it looks like very wavy. It has a very unique look to it. And then for Seeker rares in Sun and Moon, that's when you start getting those like rainbowy ones that have texture. And then full arts as well in Sun and Moon, and X and Y full arts always are going to have, again, the texture. Now we get to Sword and Shield. Ultra rares don't have a texture. Again, remember, only full arts do. Trainer Gallery ones, just full arts, Seeker, full arts, whatever. And then hyper rares and Seeker rares. Oh, sorry, hyper rares don't exist in Sword and Shield. And Seeker rares as well. They also have the texture. And finally, Scarlet and Violet, double rares, ultra rares, Seeker illustration or special illustration rares, hyper rares, and I think that's pretty much it, all have textures. So just keep that in mind. Again, that foiling / texture is going to be your main friend in this case, and it's hopefully going to help you guys, prevent you guys from getting scammed. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I will also be doing a video for sealed product, so I'll be doing hopefully a video on ETBs and booster boxes, how to tell if they're hopefully resealed. So hopefully, again, I'm covering the sealed market and the singles market, because they're going so crazy right now that a lot of people have that incentive to scam people, right? So I'm trying to cover both. Hopefully helped you guys out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and see you. Sorry about the small addendum here. And what about graded cards? That's a little subset. That's why I wanted to do it to the end. Honestly, that's why I kind of forgot about it. I know that most people aren't into this, but the thing you're going to mainly do is you're just going to look up that certification number, whether it's CCG, PSA. Here I have a PSA one. You're just going to look up that verification number. What you can do is you can just screenshot and you can just scan in the code. Should take you directly to the PSA website. If you're going to do CCG and you do that though, keep in mind it'll take you to the comic website. So just make sure you switch over to the TCG website. So just keep that in mind. Just make sure to look up the code, the certification, copy paste it, and boom, you should be able to verify it, make sure it looks like your card, and you should be good. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and see you.